Good morning, Boston. Okay, my friends, a lot to talk about today. When I say jam-packed show, we've got a jam-packed show for you today. To be brutally honest, I was going to lead again with the Trump indictment because there is so much more that is coming out. And President Trump is going to be arraigned today, later this afternoon. He will be arrested, formally arrested, indicted, arraigned at a D.C. courthouse. The media will be there, not just here, but from all over the world. It is the biggest story of our time. And I promise I will get to it because you are not going to believe now some of the explosive news stories and consequences coming from that indictment. It is incredible. It is truly incredible. But before I get to that, one of the seminal reasons that this Democrat hack, and that's what he is, a lightweight hack, an assassin, a political assassin, Jack Smith, the reason why he issued his indictment the day after Devon Archer's bombshell, devastating testimony against Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the entire Biden crime family, it was obviously political to knock that story off of the news cycle. And it's not new. It's a regular pattern with this regime. The Biden regime indicts or expands accusations or charges against Trump whenever there is new damning evidence against either Joe, his family, Hunter, or the regime. That's how they roll. And this was clearly the intent of the indictment. There's no question, to deflect and distract from what Devon Archer really put the final nail in Joe Biden's political coffin if the Republicans want to impeach and expose all of it. Now, Archer then sat down with Tucker Carlson on Carlson's podcast, which was broadcast, I believe, yesterday on Twitter. And you got to hear this. It is so compelling. It is so determinative that I said to Sandy, we got to go with this lead. I wanted to lead with Trump, and I promise I'll talk a lot about Trump in the indictment. But what Tucker is able to get out of Devon Archer, to me, again, shows conclusively, there's no getting around it now. Hunter Biden was selling Joe Biden. As Archer says again and again, the brand was Joe Biden. What we did was we sold access. That's how the game is played in D.C. And because Hunter Biden had his dad, who was then the vice president of the United States, who in fact was in charge of many countries in his portfolio, he took the lead on China, which was the big one, Ukraine, Romania. There were other countries involved. That gave us even more power. And so, as Devon Archer describes it, he met Hunter Biden. Archer himself was in the lobbying business. Essentially, he was a lobbyist. And then he became to know Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden liked him. He liked Hunter. Apparently, Hunter had been working in D.C. for a couple years at a law firm. He was a lobbyist. He had graduated from Yale Law. He had a network in D.C., according to Devon Archer, all through his father, all through his family. And then they realized, why are we creating a lobbying business? You're lobbying, I'm lobbying. As Archer tells Tucker Carlson, he, Hunter, and several others said, let's take it to a different level. And the term that they used was, quote, strategic advisory. And that's code, as Archer says, to influence peddling. What you're really selling is access. And what they do is they go, look, people need favors. Someone needs a visa. Someone needs a regulation taken care of. Somebody needs an aid package in a foreign country. Somebody needs an investigation to be nixed or stopped. Whatever it may be, well, we can provide a better, quote-unquote, regulatory environment. That's the term Devin Archer keeps saying. We're there to help with the regulatory environment. Wink, wink. But that costs a lot of money, and you need a lot of access. Well, we did the paperwork. We did the legwork. We made sure that we hunted down the clients, and it was up to Hunter to deliver with the big guy. And he delivered again and again and again and again. And as Archer made clear, the one thing that they had over and over was they could get Joe Biden on the phone whenever they wanted. And as Devin Archer told Tucker, and I'm going to play the cuts so you can judge for yourself. As Devin Archer told Tucker, nothing impresses clients, foreign governments, entities, oligarchs, than not a scheduled call, but just, hey, you want to talk to my dad? Put him on speakerphone. Hold on. Let me call him, and I'm going to put him on speakerphone. And as Devin Archer pointed out, Joe Biden knew every single time that Hunter Biden was dealing with business partners, business clients, people who were going to put money into the pockets, not just of Hunter, but of the entire Biden crime family, and of course, Joey, the big guy. So, as Devin Archer laid it all out to Tucker Carlson, as Devin Archer laid it all out to Tucker Carlson, we put together what was called soft power. And we abused soft power. It was influencing, global influence peddling, and it was all at 35,000 feet. We even had Biden meet our clients directly at dinners, face to face, like the prominent Russian oligarch. Her husband was the late mayor of Moscow, Yelena Baturina. She's worth way over $1 billion. She needed to be taken off the sanctions list so she could have access to her money in Swiss bank accounts. Well, she invested $40 million in a real estate venture of ours, of Hunter Biden and Devin Archer's, and, of course, a $3.5 million quote-unquote consulting fee. And guess what? Quid pro quo. The Bidens got the money, and Yelena Baturina, to this day, is not on the sanctions list. That's how we rolled. You needed favors. You gave us money. We gave you access. And the Bidens, particularly Joe Biden, for his cut, obviously, would deliver. Listen now to Devin Archer. He's asked by Tucker Carlson, what was it that drew you to Hunter? How did the two of you, remember, they weren't just longtime business associates. They were buddies. They were best friends forever. What drew you? And he said, ultimately, the Biden name, the Biden brand. Roll cut one, Mike.
Well, at the end of the day, he had a career in Washington, graduated Yale Law School, and had a very big network in D.C., and brought that know-how and understanding of D.C. and ultimately the Biden brand.
Yeah, the Biden brand. Obviously the network through his father, but it was the Biden, in other words, his father. That's the Biden brand. No one cares for Hunter. The guy's a drug addict. He's not some genius lawyer. No one cares for Uncle Jim and you know, and the other one, Frankie, the thugs, the kneecappers. So what's the Biden brand? Joe, the vice president. Hello, let's make some money. Listen now, saying private equity, it's a very complex business. I knew it. I worked in it for years, but now we were going to do something else. We were going to take care of people's problems. We were going to raise a lot of money, raise a lot of capital. We were going to deal with the, quote, regulatory environment. And we had our guy who could help us every step of the way. Roll cut 2, Mike.
It's a complex business. Takes years of training, but again, the initial idea around the business, they were going to provide, you know, the government insight and an additional network to raise capital and then, you know, deal with regulatory issues that you might have at the corporate level.
At the corporate level. In other words, at the Burisma. He talks about Burisma and what they needed from him and from Hunter. In other words, you give us money, we take care of you. The Biden way. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just a little bit of a side note here before I continue with this very, very important podcast that Tucker Carlson had with Devin Archer. This was after he was deposed, after he testified under oath for 4 hours behind closed doors to the House Oversight Committee. And trust me, it gets better. I'm just laying the groundwork to understand the relationship between Devin, Archer, Hunter, and Joe Biden. But it all comes out. But before I do, it's been several weeks now. We have been having problems with our transmitter, or to be more accurate, our transmitter is being painted. And so because it's being painted, it is affecting the signal. So many of you have been saying, Jeff, I mean, I'm in downtown Boston and I'm having a hard time hearing the show. What's going on? This will be taken care of soon, I promise. The painting should be finished. The paint job should be finished shortly. But until they finish painting the transmitter, please, you can listen to the show, go to Alexa, you can go to Google, you can download the app, or listen to the podcast. There are multiple ways that you can listen to the Kuhner Report via streaming, whatever, in your car, on your phone. And I promise we will get the signal issue rectified. We just need them to speed up and finish the paint job. What's taking you guys so long? I don't know. But if you could, you know, the weather. Yeah, I guess the weather. Vamos, as the Spanish would say. Fast. Let's go. Let's go. Anyway, but please be patient. You can go to Alexa, you can go to Google, you can download the app. There are many things you can do. Okay. So here you now have Archer now telling Tucker. So we decided to take it up a whole other level. And it was no longer going to be just straight lobbying. We were now going to do, quote, strategic advisory at a corporate level, meaning we were going to go after the big money. Okay, the Burismas of the world, CEFC in China, these big energy companies and behemoths. We didn't care if they were tied to the Chinese Communist Party. We didn't care if these were dirty, corrupt oligarchs. They needed access to Washington. They needed a better, quote unquote, regulatory environment in their kind of jargon. And we had the guy to deliver, Joe Biden. We had Hunter, we had the Biden brand, so we put together now essentially a global influence peddling operation. Tucker asked him, when did you first meet Joe Biden? And how did this relationship develop between you, Hunter, and of course, ultimately, the chairman of the board, the big guy? Listen now to Devin Archer. Actually, Boston. I kid you not, the convention in Boston in 2008. He said, you know what? That was the watershed. Roll cut 6, Mike.
Joe Biden, I met the first time probably at the 2000 convention. I think it was in L.A., and then Boston was 2004. So those two times I probably shook hands as they made kind of the power circles around the. You've been to them through the skyboxes, and then following that, really when our partnership started in 2008, 2009-ish. Conversation started. That's when I re-met Hunter and actually had a sit down and meal with him and talked about the transition from lobbying into strategic advisory, and then kind of some type of coalescence around having a private equity fund that would have this unique access and understanding of a regulatory environment.
So there you go. Basically, we went from lobbying to influence peddling. Okay, strategic advisory, regulatory access, blah 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 blah. That's all. That's influence peddling. That's Washington jargon for you need favors, you need things done, we will deliver, but for a price. Because we've got the big guy. We've got the vice president through his son. That's how this whole thing works. Now, I got to just say this very quickly. When you watch the interview between Devin Archer and Tucker Carlson, Archer's smart. And I know this because I worked in D.C. for 10 years. A lot of smart people. Devious, sinister, nefarious, shady, corrupt. Yes. But smart. They're very smart. They know how to play the system. They know how to rig the system. Well-spoken, articulate, and clearly you can see he added a level of sophistication to Hunter, the degenerate, the drug addict, the crackhead, that the Bidens needed to give themselves a level of separation. Now, listen to Devin Archer, because now he starts to really open up. Roll cut to A. In other words, what are you really selling? Tucker asks, what are you really selling here? Roll cut to A, Mike.
It seems like when understanding a regulatory environment means selling access at the end of the day. That's how I interpret it. And I think that's how most people in Wall Street, whether they admit it or not, interpret it.
So, selling access. Okay? The big companies, big corporations here in Wall Street, and of course, as we're going to find out, in China, in Romania, in Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Mother Russia, they were selling access everywhere. Now, coming up next, Archer fingers Joe Biden. And there's no getting around it. When Joe Biden says he never discussed business with Hunter, he didn't know any of his associates, he never dealt with his associates, he's a stone cold liar. And Archer lays it all out. 617-266-6868 is the number. I've got that, so much more. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so Tucker Carlson's podcast with Devin Archer, there's no getting around it now. Joe Biden knew Hunter Biden. He knew Hunter Biden's business associates. He knew Hunter's clients. He called in deliberately when Hunter was having business dealings with his clients to impress these clients. So everything Joe Biden has been saying for years, stone cold lie. Listen now to Devin Archer saying, here's the influence peddling, or access, as he put it. We sold access to Joe Biden. That's what we did. Now, here are the kind of things we used to do. Roll cut to B, Mike.
How do I, deal with getting a guy a visa that needs to come over for a business deal? Right. Call our lobbyist that knows the guy in DHS or used to work in DHS, or, in Customs and Border Patrol, or the people at the embassy and state. They might be able to help. So there are very tactical elements that are regulatory and compliance and governance that you have to go through, and you got to know the guy that worked at the old agency that now has the lobbying firm that can go back to the agency and get things put to the front of the line.
So everything put to the front of the line. We take care of you. We give you what you want. In exchange, you give us money because, as Devin Archer kept saying again and again throughout the interview, we had the quote-unquote Biden brand. In other words, we were peddling Joe. What were you? You're peddling influence. What are you selling? Well, Hunter's got one thing to sell: the old man and access to the old man, but for a price. And everybody got their kickback. So listen now to Devin Archer. Tucker asks him point blank, how many times did Joe Biden call when you and Hunter were having business meetings with clients? So Hunter is there with clients, business associates. They're asking for millions of dollars in cash. And son of a bee, there's Joe Biden, and he's on the phone. Roll cut 4. Mike.
Joe Biden would call in with clients present on a speakerphone.
Right.
How many times do you think that happened?
I mean, over a 10-year partnership, I would, the number I'm going with is 20. That's probably the amount that I kind of recall. Yeah, a lot.
So, okay. Well, so he called in a lot. And we were there with business clients, prospective clients, business associates. So, number one, he knew what Hunter was doing. I never spoke to my son about his business. Bull crap. You know what I really want to say? Pure BS. But now, forget that now. Now, he's playing a role. He's letting them know, you can reach me. Through my son, through Devin, through this Rosemont Seneca, through their firm that they created. You want to reach me? You want to have access to me? Wink, wink. Wink, wink. I'm on the phone now, aren't I? Listen now. Devin Archer saying, we literally had dinners with clients. Dinners. Meetings. And there was Joe Biden as vice president. And he met him, and he spoke to him. And the fact that we could get him on the phone, the fact that we could get him to that dinner, the fact that he would shake their hand and meet him, that was what we wanted. Because the clients' eyes, their eyes popped wide open and said, they can deliver, send them the money. Roll cut 4A, Mike.
I think I can definitively say at particular dinners or meetings, he knew there were business associates, and or if I was there, I was a business associate too. Yeah. So I think, or if, any of the other colleagues from the DC office or the New York office were there. So yeah, at times there were. From the, to be, completely clear on the calls, I don't know if it was an orchestrated call in or not. It certainly was powerful though, because if you're sitting with a foreign business person and you hear the vice president's voice, that's prize enough. I mean, that's pretty impactful stuff. Bingo.
Well, of course it is. Hey, look, think about it. You're this corrupt Ukrainian oligarch. Let's use Zlochevsky. Mikola, who goes by Nikolai. So you're Nikolai Zlochevsky. You're Nikolai. And, you're a multi-billionaire. You're a corrupt oligarch. But you've got your own government now breathing down your neck. And they're investigating you for massive corruption because you're a crook. Like all these oligarchs are crooks. And I need the Americanci, as they call them, the Americans. I need them to get them off my back. So, should I get Hunter on the board? Hunter and Devin. They say they can get me Joe Biden and make all problems go away. But can they really deliver? Can they? That's the question. Or is it all, how you say in America, smoke? Hot air. Okay. Listen to Devin Archer. Roll. He goes, this is the pinnacle of power. Not even the scheduled call with the vice president. The unscheduled call. We have so much freaking access. We can get the VP on the phone anytime we want. Roll cut 4B, Mike.
The power to have that access and that conversation, and it's not in a scheduled conference call, and it's a part of your family. That's like the pinnacle of power in DC.
In other words, you want to roll, everything goes through us. It goes through Hunter, went through Devin, went through Rosemont Seneca, through their firm. But who's the chairman of, Who are they constantly selling access to? It's one guy. It's the big guy. It's Joe Biden. Now, listen to this, where even Archer says, look, I'm going to be candid with you. He always put his dad on the phone. He always did it when he was doing clients. Joe Biden knew. It was obvious. This was abuse of power. This was raw influence peddling. Roll cut 5, Mike.
You're taking a call from the vice president and you put it on speaker. It's not just, hey, Dad, I'm in a meeting with some buddies.
Right.
It's, let me put my dad, the vice president, on speaker.
Yeah. Yep. In the rear view, it's an abuse of soft power, I'd say.
So, I mean, like, look, man, that's what it was. That's what we were doing. That was the system we set up. Now, Joe Biden keeps, to this day, they're claiming, I never spoke with anybody involved with my son and his business dealings. I never spoke to my son about business. I never spoke to his business associates. I never spoke to anybody. Really? Okay. Here's a note. There was a meeting in D.C. Guess with who? The previous leader of China. At the time in 2011, before Xi Jinping got into power, it was Hu Jintao. He was the strong man of China. Well, in 2011, Hu Jintao is now then the leader of China, communist China. Well, there's a big fancy dinner. Who do you think is there? Of course, Joe, but it was a luncheon. Forgive me, not a dinner. It was a luncheon. My bad. Not Joe. I'm not just Joe. Hunter, Devin, the whole team. There they were. And then Joe Biden writes Devin Archer a thank you note. Now remember, this is Hunter's business associate. He's invited to a luncheon with the leader of China. They're starting to set up deals in China. Remember, Joe Biden keeps saying, I never discussed business with Hunter. I never discussed business with Hunter and his associates. I didn't know who his associates were. How much time left, Mike? Okay, roll cut 7, Mike.
Here's the vice president of the United States saying to you, a man in his mid-30s, who's not a government official, I'm sorry I was occupied with the guy who runs the world's largest country. I would much rather talk to you and thank you. What was he thanking you for?
Well, first of all, it's a lovely letter, and it was.
It's quite enthusiastic. It's a little weird, though, right?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of the beginning of our partnership, and he was thanking me and thanking Hunter, I think, at the end of the day, for bringing this idea of this government regulatory strategic advisory business into the private equity world, and I think he was excited about the prospects for Hunter, and he was just thanking me. I think it was a nice gesture.
There you go. It was a nice gesture. Yeah. In other words, you're bringing my son in, you're bringing my family in, and we're going to make a lot of money. Private equity, billions and billions and billions of dollars just sloshing around. And you know what? Wink, wink. We sell enough access, we'll get a nice piece of that pie. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to play one last clip, and then I want to get your reaction. 617-266-6868 is the number. So, Tucker Carlson, after reading from the letter that Joe wrote, it was a gushing letter, thanking Devin Archer, praising Devin Archer, wishing him and Hunter all the best. So clearly now, Joe Biden is talking with Hunter's business associates. He knows they're business associates. He knows what business they're in. He knows exactly what's going on. I mean, this idea that the Democrats keep saying, he just talked about the weather. Joe had no idea who they were. I mean, it's beyond idiotic. It's beyond idiotic. Listen now to Tucker, where he says, okay, I get it. You're basically trying to be a lobbyist, an influence peddler. You've set up this firm, Rosemont Seneca, with Hunter Biden. But what the hell is Joe Biden doing? He's the vice president of the United States. He's supposed to be thinking about the national interest. What's he doing getting involved not only in Hunter's business dealings, but obviously in the Biden family business dealings? What the hell is he doing schmoozing you? Roll cut 7A. Mike.
This is not a criticism of you. I would think as a business guy, you use every advantage. These are not business guys. This is the vice president of the United States. He's not allowed to be working on businesses with foreign governments while he's vice president. I don't think.
Not that I know.
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. So, now look, Devin Archer is slick. Devin Archer is a Washington insider. Devin Archer is a Democrat. Devin Archer goes back a long way with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. He's got to be very careful because he's the kind of guy that gets crushed and gets destroyed. So, you know, he's being careful in the way he says things, but it's very obvious. I mean, you have to really be dumb, blind, and mute. I mean, you have to, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to speak it. I don't want to know anything. It's obvious Joe Biden knew about Hunter's business. He was involved and played a key active role in Hunter's business. And he was involved in influence peddling. And Devin Archer says that was our business. We were selling the Biden brand. It was influence peddling. And when press saying, look, what the hell is he doing making business deals with foreign governments and foreign oligarchs? He's supposed to be the vice president. Yeah, well, that was our business. That's why I hooked up with Hunter. No, you're true. He's not supposed to be doing that. Of course he's not supposed to be doing that. Now, what does all this mean? I know all of you are probably saying, Jeff, we know this already. Yes, but it's now indisputable proof and corroboration. They had a global influence peddling scheme. And Devin Archer was a front guy. The bag man was Hunter. But the chairman of the board was Joe Biden. And he needed several levels of separation. So Hunter has separation by having Devin Archer there. And then Joe Biden has extra separation by having Hunter Biden there. And that's how they tried to insulate the big guy. But for him to now claim that he never spoke to his son about business, a lie. That he never knew about his son's business, a lie. That he never had any contact with Hunter's business associates, stone cold lie. So he has been lying to us now for over 4 freaking years. And at the heart of this, forget what they're indicting Trump on. This is to me what I find unbelievable. We're not talking about, he retained his own personal documents that the deep state says is quote unquote classified. Oh, a hush payment to Stormy Daniels. In other words, garbage. We are talking about selling out U.S. policy positions in exchange, as Archer described, tens and tens of millions of dollars. In fact, I want to play, forgive me, I said one last cut, there'll be one more. In the conversation with Tucker, he admits the money was rolling in now. 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. Now they're on Burisma. They're doing big deals with China. They're dealing money. There's money coming in now from Romanian oligarchs. You got Yelena Baturina in Russia. You got a big Kazakh oligarch. Now they're just bagging people all over. They're setting up 20 LLCs, shell companies. So it started small, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But then Devin Archer says it was all too good to be true. He talks about how much money he made. He made millions off of this. And he goes, we were having so much fun, and we were traveling around the world, and we're in Dubai, and we're wherever. We're jet setting. We're in Shanghai. We're in Beijing. We're flying everywhere. And whenever we needed Joe at a meeting or at a dinner or on the phone, he was always available as long as the cash kept rolling in. But it all came to an end. Listen now to Devin Archer. Roll cut 3, Mike.
What we ran into and with what Hunter ran into was almost like an Icarus issue. So he got it was too close to the sun. It was too good to be true. And the connections were too close and the scrutiny too much.
Yes.
And it ended up destroying, it left a wake of a lot of destruction in business over a number of years.
So it all fell apart. They got away with a lot of money, but in the end, the whole thing just fell apart. And here we are. He's about to go to jail on a separate issue, allegedly issuing securities fraud, defrauding a Native American tribe, the Oglala Sioux tribe, the Oglala Sioux tribe. So he's now facing a year in jail. But it's obvious he feels burned by Hunter. He feels burned by Joe. He feels burned by the Biden crime family. They used him, and now they're spitting him out. Because that's what the Bidens do. Now, what I find incredible is all of this now has been confirmed and corroborated. There's no getting around it. I believe Devin Archer. He testified under oath upon the pain of penalty. He repeated his story again. He sounds, sleazy, no question, but he's not lying. He's telling the truth. And so the question now is, what are the Republicans going to do? Because the issue of indicting Trump is to deflect from this. We have a crook, a criminal, and a traitor, an influence peddler in the White House. That's what we have. And now we've got not one, but 2 business associates who testify. You've got bank records. You've got wire transfers. You've got phone messages. You've got FBI, IRS whistleblowers. You've got FBI undercover informants saying the Bidens were bought off with 10 mil just from the Burisma alone, from Zlochevsky, Nikolai, as they called him. Nikolai, my friend, how you are? 5 for Joe, 5 for Hunter. So you've got all of this overwhelming evidence. How many? 20 plus LLCs, shell companies? It just goes on and on and on. Now you've got the business associate himself saying, yep, we got him whenever we needed him, we got him on the phone. Did he set up business dinners? Yeah. Did he meet with Yelena Baturina personally? Yeah. And then what? As he told the oversight committee, Joe told Hunter and I leave the room. And within a couple days, $40 million was put in for a real estate venture operation that we were doing, and a direct check of $3.5 million right to Hunter Biden's account. And to this day, she's off the sanctions list. Quid pro quo. Period. Nothing. Nothing. And notice, Democrats don't care. Selling our country down the river like a whore, like an absolute whore. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I want to read one email. I'm going to go right to the phone lines. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let me ask you, what do you make now? We've heard Devin Archer. It's no longer behind closed doors. He confirmed everything what he told the House Oversight Committee, this time in an interview on Tucker Carlson's podcast. It's all there. What do you make of everything now? Do the Republicans, must they impeach? Do the Republicans now have a duty to impeach Joe Biden and completely unmask the Biden crime family? 617 888-266-6868. And did they indict Trump to deflect from this, to blow this massive scandal, maybe the greatest corruption scandal in the history of the United States, to blow this off of the news cycle? Okay, this is a really, really good email. Jeff, let's not forget what happened just over a month ago. There were documents related to Hunter Biden that law enforcement had gotten out to some media outlets. And one of those documents was leaked to the journalist John Solomon. Well, that document contained an active cell phone number that Hunter Biden was and had been paying for all along. John Solomon decided to call the number. And you'll never guess who picked up the phone on the other end. Yup, Joe Biden. He still to this day had the phone. Solomon introduced himself, and when Joe Biden realized who was calling him on his secret phone, he immediately hung up. This was the quote-unquote hotline that Joe Biden would make these calls from, and the same one that Hunter and Devin Archer would use to call the big guy, quote-unquote, at a moment's notice to do their quote-unquote dealings. And it's illegal for this very reason for a then vice president and now a sitting president to have a secret cell phone like this, because it keeps everything, quote-unquote, off the record. Bingo. Off the books. Like Hillary's secret email, unsecure secret email server. You don't know what's coming in, you don't know what's coming out. Same thing with this secret cell phone. You need to reach me, it's urgent, that's the number. 617-266-6868. Dave in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
Good, Jeff. Listen, we're about to start work.
Dave, we can barely hear you. Are you on speaker?
Hold on, Jeff. All right, can you hear me now, Jeff?
Yes, go ahead, Dave. You're loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, buddy, they're getting him 6 ways to Sunday, and meanwhile they're going after Trump. This is ridiculous.
Dave,
Hello?
what do you make of Archer now? Not just testifying, but going to Tucker. By the way, notice he didn't go to Fox News. He didn't go to CNN. He did. Yeah, I mean, he didn't go to Jesse Waters or Sean Hannity or whoever. I don't know, Brett Baer. Or what. He went to Tucker, which shows that Fox's influence is really waning. But let that go. What do you make of it now that Devin Archer is confirming in public, now in openly, what he was telling the investigators and members of Congress behind closed doors?
So it's the truth, Jeff. I mean, no 2 ways from Sunday. They got him dead to rights, and he's the one that should be being impeached right now. If the Republicans don't impeach, they don't have no backbone or balls, Jeff.
Dave, I'm thinking now it's more that they're just very corrupt. I mean, I know it's no backbone and no cojones, but I'm starting to think, no. When you see this kind of naked, brazen corruption, selling our country out to the highest bidder, buying access, selling favors, government positions, government favors in exchange for money. I mean, if it doesn't shock your conscience, you're in on it. And I think that's the problem. If they go after Joe Biden, many of them are going to fall as well. I mean, Dave, am I wrong?
No, all the Mitt Romneys, all the McConnells. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, Mike Pence or some of the Republican presidential candidates could be part of it, too. I wouldn't put it past them.
Dave, with everything now that's happened in the last 24 to 48 hours, do you think events now are just going to push Republicans to impeach?
Yes, I do. And they're going to need to, Jeff. If they want to keep their seats in office, they're going to need to. You know, I mean, you heard some of the Rhino Republicans, well, we're worried about the Rhino districts that Biden won. No, if they don't get no backbone, they're not going to keep their seats regardless, Jeff. That means they don't care about the American people or doing their job or caring about the Constitution. That's the problem. But, Jeff, I do got to get going. I got to start work, buddy.
Dave, God bless you, my friend. All right, have a great day at work. 617-266-6868. That's Kuhner country for you. Poor guy. Look at his calls, and then he's got to start his shift. Anthony in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, as always, Jeff. But I think a lot of people have missed the ball on this one with the Devin Archer testimony yesterday. He testified that whenever Joe called, that they would talk about the weather. Well, I'm sorry that as a teenager, come out and say, hey, you know, I'm going to influence peddle. You know, did you send my son the money? No, we would say stuff in code like, hey, how's the weather going? And if the weather wasn't going good, then we knew that the deal wasn't good. So if the weather was cold, then, you know, I needed to have my father influence peddle a little bit more. Or if the weather was beautiful, crystal clear, that meant the deal was all set and ready to go. So, like, I don't know how much more painfully obvious you need to be, but that's him confessing right there that Joe Biden was in on the influence peddling. That's what the weather was about, not that he was checking 20 times about the weather with his son. I'm sorry, people, but you're ignorant if you don't see this.
Oh, you're dead on. No, Anthony, you're absolutely dead on. No, in fact, in testimony, he openly said, they said, well, what were you selling? What were you and Hunter Biden selling? To go, because, you know, you're in business now. So what's your business? And he said openly, we were selling the Biden brand. And so I don't know if it was Comer or one said, well, what's the Biden brand? I mean, what? It's Hunter? Like, you know, people are going to give millions of dollars to listen to Hunter, give them advice, you know, or Uncle Jim or Frankie or, they go, no, the brand was Joe Biden, obviously. He's the only one that can make all this happen is Joe Biden. Who can give communist China what they want? Joe Biden. Who can give Ukraine what they want? Burisma in particular, Joe Biden. Yelena Baturina, she's got to get off the sanctions list. Well, who was in charge of the sanctions list as vice president? Joe Biden. So all of these, that's what Comer keeps saying over and over again. Everyone that did business with them had problems that needed to be fixed by the U.S. government. And they were all in Joe Biden's portfolio as vice president. And they call and they meet with Hunter Biden. And Hunter Biden puts Joe Biden on the phone. In other words, wink, wink. We'll deliver. Wire the money. Because remember, they don't want to get, like, if you needed something done, Anthony, right? You're like, okay, fine. You're the son. We all know who your father is. But how do I know? If I'm going to give you $10 million, I want to make sure you guys deliver. So how do I know? Where's the guarantee that if I send you the money, you'll do the quid pro quo? Okay. Anthony, hang on. We're having dinner. Ding, ding. Yep. Hi. Dad, it's Anthony. You want to say hi to Anthony? Anthony, nice to see you. How are things, Anthony? You and Hunter enjoying yourselves? Yeah? How's the weather? Is the weather good? Blah, 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 blah. How's the golf game? Blah, 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 blah. And then, okay, I got the old man on the phone. 10 mil, problem solved. Now, the Ukrainians, Anthony, you got to see the email. David, the phone call wasn't enough. Then they said, we want to put it on paper, contract. We want contract. They want a contract. And they go, to solidify that the ultimate purpose of this arrangement is to get Shokin fired and to get the Ukrainian government off of Burisma's back. And that's when Archer steps in and says, we'll take care of that for you, but you can't put stuff like that down on paper. In other words, like, look, guys, whoa, hey, We're going to, and then Hunter says, nobody delivers more than the Bidens. Like, check our reputation. You give us the cash, my father will deliver. They put the cash, and the old man delivered. That's how they roll, Anthony.
Jeff,
Anthony, go ahead, my friend.
do you know what their business was? Their business was Fast Pass at Disneyland with guaranteed ride access. That's exactly what they were, Disney Fast Pass salesmen. Because every business that was being done could be done legitimately with the U.S. government. But they're kind of like registry agents. Like, you don't want to wait in the line with the registry, you pay me extra, and I'll get you right to the front of the line, and I'll take care of all that work for you. So that is a registered government job that they were doing, and they were unregistered. So they should all be arrested right now. And the saddest part of all is we had all of this evidence, and the government lied to the people. It was all on the laptop. It was all there. And we were lied to as the American people, and the government lied to us. And it all goes back to yesterday with the caller that I didn't even know, with Obama being able to legalize the government propagandizing the citizens. Once they did that, that's where our country started going downhill. And until we can change that back to being what it was before, we're never going to get out of this. Because
you're right, because they're now indoctrinating and lying to us. 720 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, what do you make now? Devin Archer speaks out. It's not just behind closed doors in front of the House Oversight Committee under oath. He pretty much repeated everything what he said to the committee, but this time on Tucker Carlson's podcast yesterday, and what he said, we were in the influence business. I was with Hunter. We could get his dad anytime we wanted to influence our business clients and foreign governments. And as he put it, we were selling the Biden brand. Joe Biden is a liar, and he's a crook, and now he's been utterly exposed. Will the Republicans now, finally, will they be forced to impeach Joe Biden and unmask the Biden crime family? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Mike in the great state of Wisconsin. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me come on here. I'm traveling in from Milwaukee. Love your show, and I just couldn't help but call in. I wanted to share a couple of things. One, Archer's a hero for coming out and sharing this. Bob Alinsky's a hero. These people who come forward take great risks to do what they're doing, so praise them. But I can tell you the concerns get bigger, too. When we look at the total impact of Biden and these decisions and all these bad things that he's been doing in the background with his family. Ukrainian blood, Russian blood. There's a war going on that this could have a potential influence into. We're financing it to start. So, here's a case where there's people dying over bad decisions. Besides that, the deep state has so much control over. We can see all these bad decisions being made by Biden since he's become president. Repeatedly letting our border collapse, financial decisions that are just horrible, and just making America hate each other. We're all, I'm not going to tell you what color I am because you don't need to know that. But this racism discussion constantly is fueled by this president. So he's destroying this country, and the deep state must have had all of this on him. And that's why he's so controlled. But he's also feeble. So it's collapsing right in front of their eyes. Even the dirty people who put him in office are starting to wonder if that was a mistake because, the puppet is feeble. And so I want to just leave it at that and get your feedback on that. But there's people dying.
Mike, before you go, and you're making excellent points, I have to say, really, really good points. Before you go, I just want to run two things by you, and I want to get your take and frankly the audience's take. Number one, you're right. It's not just that the Ukrainians have what, the Russians call kompromat, compromising information. They've got them. They know what he did with Burisma. They've got the documents. They've got the audio tapes. They've got Joe Biden over a barrel. They've got him and his son over a barrel. So they're extorting and blackmailing him. And we're giving, billions and billions every month, fueling this insane war that could lead to World War III. Imagine, we're just seeing one small piece of the puzzle. Here's the vice president under Obama. Remember, this is all under Obama. But, think about, now multiply this, because this is what Mitch McConnell is doing. And this is what Mitt Romney is doing. And this is what Lindsey Graham is doing. And this is what Nancy Pelosi was doing. And Chuck Schumer. And, of course, the Obamas and the Clintons and the Kerrys. So look at how they're all selling our country out. Keep multiplying that. To enrich themselves, enrich their families, line their pockets. But who's lobbying for us? At that strategic advisory level, at the corporate level, for a better regulatory environment. Let's talk with their ridiculous jargon. Who's lobbying for us? And that's why the country, it's been decades now, where people feel no one listens to us. I mean, how long can this border be wide open? How could you keep running our economy into the ground? How can you keep racking up trillion-dollar deficits? How can you have us in war after war after war after war after war, spilling American blood and draining our treasury? How long can this keep going on? And so what I find amazing, Mike, and this one I want to get your take, it's not anti-Biden. Of course it is. But what I'm saying is it's anti-swamp. Republican, Democrat, I don't care. It's the uniparty. It's the establishment. We can't survive if this continues. There are too many parasites. We're going to go under. They're going to bleed us white. Yet you have these Biden supporters. They're like fanatics defending what is obviously a corrupt, compromised man. What say you?
What say me is that the swamp is the swamp, and we're sheep here in America watching this all happen. We're afraid to call it out. We should call it out, but with the Biden's mess and what's so obvious, that's something they should be taking care of and dealing with in D.C. to clean out all this bad behavior.
We need a sheriff, and that's Trump, and that's why they want to put the sheriff in jail. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Devin Archer now speaks to Tucker Carlson, public, no longer behind closed doors, private testimony to members of Congress. This was on the record on Tucker's podcast, and he confirmed everything what he told investigators behind closed doors. Joe Biden knew about Hunter Biden's business dealings. He was involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings. In fact, he was at the center of Biden's business dealings. And even a letter that was sent from Joe Biden as vice president to Devin Archer, thanking him for setting up this partnership, this business relationship with Hunter Biden. And as Devin Archer said, it was the abuse of soft power. We were influence peddling. We were there to sell the Biden brand. And Joe Biden was the brand. 617-266-6868 is the number. Carrie in West Bridgewater. Thanks for holding, Carrie, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Carrie.
Jeff, I believe if all things were truly equal, absolutely Joe Biden would be impeached. But I believe that he will not be impeached because to impeach Joe Biden would be to expose the most sacred cow in American politics, and that's Barack Obama. Barack Obama, his fingerprints are all over Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. They're his influence has been so poisonous to America, and I'll give you an example of why I think they will not touch Obama. Remember when Hillary had her homemade server in her bathroom?
Yes.
And was using that as her email. If you want to email the president, you and I can't just send an email. We can email the White House, but we don't have access to the president's email address. You have to be what they call whitelisted, and that would be approved email addresses that the president can receive. Well, Obama would have been receiving emails from Hillary's homemade server and not from her official State Department .gov email. So he knew she was using a phony server. That's why they didn't go after Hillary Clinton, and I think that's why they won't go after Joe Biden, because all roads lead to Obama, and they won't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He is a sacred cow in American politics, and I think his influence has been really the singularly most destructive thing in America. I can't think of anything that's been more destructive than Barack Obama.
Well, Carrie, just stand back by the way, you're completely right. Not 100, you're 1,000% correct. But let me just step back for 1 second. Obama now, and this is, Forbes, Fortune it's public information, is worth over $1 billion. The Obamas now, they're oligarchs. They're billionaires. They're worth north of $1 billion. A mansion in Martha's Vineyard, a mansion in Washington, D.C., in Georgetown, a mansion in Chicago, a massive mansion in Hawaii. They got a private jet, pilots, everything. They fly them all over the world. When I say Michelle Obama, I'm not kidding. She shops in Paris and then has dinner in Chicago or Washington. She will have lunch in San Francisco and then, party in Hawaii. They're jet setters. They fly at 35,000 feet. Well, how did he get his money? No one's asking the obvious question. How did a former president of the United States, and he got this within a couple of years. I'm not even talking over the last, 7 years. By 2018, 2019, he was already a multi-billionaire. Well, think about it. Under Obama, like under Joe Biden, he sold out our country. What did communist China not get that they wanted under Obama? They got everything. They literally got everything. What did the Ukrainians not get? They got everything. What did the Saudis? What did the Iranians? All those billions of dollars that were in cash sent to the mullahs. I want to know how much of it went to Barack Hussein Obama. Because money is missing. Billions of dollars went missing. So what I'm saying is this. Think about this. When we're looking at it at Joe. Okay, and it's good. Don't get me wrong. But think about this. What Joe Biden is doing is what Hillary Clinton did. It's what Obama did. It's what Pelosi did. Frankly, it's what McConnell did or does. It's what Romney does. It's what McCain did. It's what Lindsey. So you look at all of our elected politicians, and this is how they all come in. They all come in making $200,000 a year, and they all leave filthy rich. Some more, some less. Some are billionaires. Some, like Mitch McConnell, they're worth, 80 million or 85 million? So some are at 100 million, some are at $1 billion, some is just 5 million or 10 million. But the point is, you come in poor or middle class, whatever, and you walk out filthy rich. And, it's not like they're making a great product, Carrie, or they're great business leaders or whatever. They're in sports or athletics or entertainment or something of quality, a product. No, they're shafting you and they're shafting me. They're shafting us. They make money off our backs by selling us and our country down the river. And Carrie, I want to ask you this. If you're a politician, and I mean, you're well-intentioned, you're well-meaning, Kerry from West Bridgewater, you got elected, and you go to Congress, and you make $175,000 a year. It's a nice living, good health care benefits, dental, a gold-plated pension plan, the whole works. But then you look around you, and they're all saying, Kerry, all you got to do is play the game. And you play the game. Forget $175,000 a year. How about $2.5, $3, $4 million a year? And if you start rising up in some of these committees and you start making a real name for yourself, you're looking at $10, $20, $30, $40 million. And if you make it to a cabinet level or a senator or really senior leadership, then the sky's the limit. So think about the immense temptation you're under. And that's why there's very few people that can remain honest and hold out. I mean, Kerry, am I wrong?
No, you're 1,000% right. And I do believe there are people who go into this almost like Mr. Smith goes to Washington, where they really believe that they're going to be able to make a difference. But at the end of the day, I think it's just the pressure is too great, the temptation is too great, and at the end of the day, they all become a little corrupt. Some of them a little corrupt, a lot of them very, very corrupt.
Bingo.
And when Obama said he was going to fundamentally transform America, I knew what he meant. I know you know what he meant, and I'm sure most of this audience knew what he meant. But the sheeple did not. They didn't realize it until it was too late. And I fear now it might be too late.
Now we're paying the price. Oh, you're dead on. Kerry, phenomenal call. Phenomenal. And thank you very much. And I love the way she phrased it, because it is true. It's accurate. When you follow certain politicians, what do you say? Well, they're a little corrupt. Right? You go, yeah. No, they're not completely corrupt. They didn't sell their soul. But jeez, boy, some of their votes, it's obviously somebody's paying them. Right? And there's others where you go, just a whore. Joe Biden, or Hillary Clinton, or whatever, Mitch McConnell, or Barack Obama is to me Exhibit A. Pelosi's another one. But, whatever, McManiac. I mean, just they're whores. Like it's obscene how much money they take, and they are for sale completely. But others, look, think about it. I'm a schmuck, right? That's what people think. Like, I'm looking around, they're all making millions, and I'm making nothing wrong with $175,000 a year. Don't get me wrong, but everything is comparative. And you're like, I still got to make payments on my mortgage. I don't know how I'm going to put the kids through school, through college. Whatever. Jimmy's 16. Jimmy wants a car. Whatever. Lisa now is in college. These bills are adding up. And here I am trying to make ends meet. And all I got to do is take a little here and a little there and turn a blind eye here and turn a blind eye there and break a few promises. And I'm in a multimillionaire club. And that's how they get you. So, she's right. Some politicians, you go, a little corrupt. Others, it's Sodom and Gomorrah. But either way, it's the system. It's the swamp. And it's all off of our backs. In the end, we're their victim. And that's why, if anyone poses a serious challenge to it, it's not just Trump. Look what they're doing to RFK Jr. Okay, very quickly, quick story, and then I want to go right back to the phone lines. As you know, I spent 10 years, in fact, over 10 years in Washington, D.C. I was the assistant national editor at the Washington Times. I was a regular columnist on the opinion pages. Anyway, long story short, this was under the Bush years. The stands, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, basically these Central Asian republics, they wanted to buy or set up a newspaper in Washington. Remember, again, this is Bush, war on terror. The Republicans at the time seemed they were going to have a long-standing, long-term majority. And so they felt that they needed to have a voice in the media. And they were willing to put very serious money. I'm talking tens of millions of dollars into either buying a newspaper or creating their own newspaper based in D.C. Well, I can't mention this person's name because I signed a non-disclosure agreement. He came to me, had me signed a non-disclosure, and said that they wanted me to be the editor of this newspaper. And there were other powerful, prominent people at the Washington Times. They wanted to poach on the management side, on the money marketing side, not just on the editorial side, in order to really lift this paper off. Now, long story short, they offered me $1 million a year salary. It was $1 million, which is very high in DC for an editor. $1 million a year, gold-plated health care, pension benefits, bonuses, incentives, an expense account. It was some kind of crazy, a $50,000, I mean, on one of these American Express cards or whatever, a $50,000 expense account. It was ridiculous. So basically I could have paid lunches every day, schmooze with people, beautiful office building, beautiful office, your own parking spot in DC, which is actually highly coveted, the whole thing. Now, and here's what they told me. They go, look, it's going to be a conservative paper. We know you're very conservative, Jeff. You want to be a conservative in foreign policy? No problem. We don't care. We don't care. Social conservative? You want to be pro-life? You want to be against same-sex marriage? That's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can be socially conservative, economically conservative, foreign national security conservative. We don't care. We want Bush people to read the paper. We want Republicans to read the paper. So you can be you, Jeff, for 99% of what you believe in. But the one thing we're demanding is it must be an anti-Israel, pro-Arab, pro-Palestinian paper. And they said, look, you want to go on about Islamic terrorism? That's fine. That's fine. But we want to see a newspaper that will be pro-Arab, pro-Muslims in the Middle East. In other words, pro-Saudi Arabia, pro-Kuwait, pro-Palestinian was the big one, and anti-Israel. That's it. That's it. Everything else, go ahead, Jeff, have at it. I said no. Honest to God, I didn't even blink. I said, no, I'm not the guy for you. I'm not for sale. They were stunned. They're like, but we're not asking you to sell yours. In other words, it's a little bit of corruption. We're not asking you to sell out everything you believe in. We're just asking you on one issue, because this is very important to us. They don't like the Israelis. They love the Palestinians. They really want to help bolster the Saudis and the Gulf sheiks, because it's very important to these stands in Central Asia. And they go, look, you're pro-life, you're anti-abortion. And they run down the whole list. They go, Jeff, and you'll have your paper with a massive salary, huge benefits, your own office, your own expense account. I mean, the whole thing. They're like, who turns this down? And I'm like, you don't understand. I can't look at myself in the mirror. I can't. Because to me, if I'm a little compromised, if I'm a little corrupted, then I'm completely corrupted. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. That's how God made me. I said, I'm telling you, I can't do this. Find somebody else. I'm not your man. Now, the others at the Times didn't want to jump ship if I wasn't going to be the editor of the paper. So the whole venture, I think, eventually collapsed. Now, I don't know if they found money elsewhere or invested in another project. I never followed up to see what did they do. My point is just this. When it comes even to the media, forget politicians, I've seen the corrupting influence of big money. I've seen it firsthand. And how influence is bought and sold, how opinions are bought and sold, how news and viewpoints and information is bought and sold. Now, I'm not Jewish. As you know, I'm Catholic. I don't have any Jewish family members. I've never even been to Israel. So you could logically, you could sit at night and say, hey, boy, $1 million a year to be the head of my own paper, to have massive influence in Washington, D.C., to advance so many massive, major causes of the conservative movement. And all they're asking for is this? Throw Israel and the Jews under the bus? That's it? Hell, you don't have to even do it yourself. You can just hire some writers and they can write the articles or the editorials praising the Palestinians and bashing the Israelis. I couldn't do it. I swear to you, I couldn't do it. But I saw how easy it is for someone to say, well, let me compromise just a little. Just a little. And that's how they get you. You come in with the best of intentions, and the money is just so tempting. And what I began to conclude, this was part of my change in my thinking. It took many years. But I'm like, this is the problem when you're the modern day Rome of the Roman Empire. This is what happens. It is so corrupting. There's too much power in Washington. And there are too many people for sale. This is not what our founding fathers intended. This is not healthy for a republic. It is, in fact, the doom of a republic. Because eventually, all that power, all you got to do is capture Washington. You capture Washington, you capture America. You capture America, you capture the world. That's globalism. And that's why I've always been saying decentralized power, federalism. Break it up, send it to the states, send it to localities, cut the Department of Education, cut the Department of Energy. I mean, just start dismantling the swamp. That's what our founding fathers intended, but I'm telling you, it stops the influence peddling. If we're not playing global cop, who cares what our opinion is of Ukraine? But if you're playing global cop, if you're in the empire business, then the whole world wants to influence you because you influence them. And the problem is now there's so much money, trillions of dollars, that all these politicians, now it's in their vested interest to keep globalism, the empire, to keep this afloat. And they justify, we're the indispensable nation. We're the leader of the free world. Without us, the world is finished. No, the world's going to do just fine. You'd be finished. Your pocketbook would be finished. And notice how they have to lie and lie and lie quickly. Zelensky, he's no Democrat. He's banned all the opposition parties. He's jailing political opponents. He's literally putting priests and monks in jail. Reporters in jail. He suspended the election. This is the leader of the free world. We're defending democracy in Ukraine. You're defending a crook. That's what you're defending. But the point is, it's in their interests now. And so I know when Trump says, I'm draining the swamp, we're going to put America and Americans first. What he's saying is the influence peddling is gone. The empire business is gone. Globalism is gone. The swamp, you're not making your money anymore. The border gets secured. We're not fighting all these wars forever around the country, around the world. Foreign aid. What's in it for us? All these disastrous trade deals. What's in it for us? Same thing, to be fair, Robert F. Kennedy. He basically saying, no, I want the whole thing to end. The party's over. So now he's the second coming of Adolf Hitler. Now he's an anti-Semite. Now, oh my God! Now he wants concentration camps. That's how they're vilifying the guy. So this is the problem in Washington. Now, again, I'm giving you, this is just Jeff Kuhner, who am I, microcosm, like with Joe Biden, like with Hunter. But they're not the exception. They're the norm. The exception are people like, I don't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Anna Lupina Paula, Anna Luna Paulina, forgive me, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert. You know, there are others. You can count them on one hand, man. No, they don't take the money. You can tell they don't take the money. At the way they speak, the way they act, the way they vote, the way they behave. They're like, nah. And many of them, either former military or current military. National Guard. Nah, I can't do it. I took an oath. I fought, bled, saw some people I knew and comrades die on the battlefield. I can't take the money. I can't. But it's one hand. 617-266-6868. Chris in Drake-it. Thanks for holding, Chris, and welcome.
Jeff, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Chris?
I'm fantastic. Jeff, you probably get a lot of people who are, sending you stuff on Twitter. But yesterday I tagged you on an article by the Federalist about the silence of the Republican leadership with these indictments. I don't know if you read the article, but we have clear corruption going on. We have plenty of evidence of all this corruption. We have a press corps made up of people from conservative media, Newsmax, Daily Wire, Fox News, and the like. Not one of those people has asked the press secretary if Joe Biden knows Tony Bobulinski. And to remove the Hunter aspect of it, because she keeps on pushing off to Hunter's personal attorneys or whomever and deflects. Ask a direct question. Stop this whole talk about how the MSM media or whatever, mass media and the established media is controlling the narrative. There's a lot of people who follow conservative media, and there's a lot of pull in conservative media. So more people actually view conservative media than they do typical MSM media. So why are we holding back? Why are we not asking the direct questions? Why are we going around the edges? I think that sometimes these questions are asked and they're loaded to have them be deflected. And then furthermore, we all, I'm in sales. I have a sales job. I've been in sales for 20 years. I have plenty of sales calls. My father's a sales guy. Not at one time has my father ever gotten a sales call with me to help close a deal. And my father's the first person I call when I land a big deal or close something because I'm proud of it and I want to talk to my dad about it. So all of this stuff a 5-year-old can figure out. And we're sitting there watching people gaslight us completely and tell us what to think when we know it's preposterous. And Jeff, I know that you do a great job of getting the message across, but there's plenty of people in conservative media to get the message across. But if we don't have the support of the upper chambers, Senate leadership, they're just as guilty as the Democrats. And I know I've said this multiple times when I've called you, but I think that we need to really start showing up at primaries and getting these people out of office and start supporting the people in the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus needs to grow. We need to get more people who speak like that, Jeff.
Well, Chris, no, you're dead on. Look, the Freedom Caucus, for the most part, is not bought and paid for. I'm telling you right now, they're not. I mean, I'm not, maybe a member here or there. I'm not vouching for every single one, but on the whole, they're not bought and paid for. I mean, it's obvious. Look at them. They're all marginalized. So they're not getting anything. We need to primary. That's why I want to vote on impeachment. Simply, okay, Jeff, you don't have the votes. Fine, let it go down in flames. I don't care. I want to see every Republican on the record. I want to know who's for or against. To me, you're right. This is it's obvious. It's a litmus test. So, are you pro money laundering, pay to play, bribery, corruption, influence peddling, and treason? Yes or no? And don't tell me there's not enough evidence. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Now, as for the media, super quick, Chris. Look, this is not a media. They're there to manipulate us. They're there to, as you put it, gaslight us. They're a bunch of lapdogs. They are there to serve the Democratic Party and ultimately the swamp. That's what they're there for. Because they're also in on it. They're making obscene amounts of money. Corporate media is incredibly corrupt. I don't care if it's Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or ABC, CBS, NBC. It doesn't matter. All the alphabet letters. It doesn't matter. New York Times, Washington Post, Boston Globe, Wall Street Journal. I don't care. They're all making money hand over fist. Look at who their owners are. They're a front and a mouthpiece for their owners. And their owners are all globalists, every single one of them. Powerful globalist billionaires. So it's incestuous. And you're right, it's kabuki theater. They don't ask real hard-hitting questions. It's always skirting on the margins, on the edges. By the way, under Joe Biden, they're literally giving the questions beforehand. I mean, you want to talk about no professional integrity whatsoever. So, because Karine Jean-Pierre can't think on her feet, even when you give her a softball. It's like a player that's so bad on the softball field. Okay, I want to pitch it really slow now, okay? Right at the heart of the plate, okay? Here it is. And still swings and misses. So now it's, okay, what do you call it, T-ball? Seriously, now it's, we're going to put it for you on a metal pike. There. Okay? No one's even going to pitch it for you. We're going to give you the questions beforehand so you know what we're going to ask, so you can have an answer ready. It's T-ball. And she's still a disaster. So we're a joke. This democracy's a joke. This ruling class is a joke. Our political media elite's an absolute joke. They're not worthy of us. We're too good for them. I keep telling everybody this over and over again. They can't shine our shoes. So why is the tail wagging the dog? We're the backbone of this country. You, me, all of us. We pay the taxes. We show up to work. We produce. These people, they're all parasites. One's a politician. One's a talking head. One's a so-called journalist. They're all the same. They're all lining their pockets, and they have one skill. They can lie with a straight face. Chris, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so super quick, because I want to go back to the phone lines. At the heart of the indictment now, issued by Jack Smith, that pathetic hack, against Trump over January 6th, is that Trump, apparently, this is now his great crime, made false statements about January 6th, about the election, forgive me, and that he knew they were false statements, that he was lying, and he knew he was lying. Now, how you can engage in mind reading, I don't know, what is Jack Smith telepathic? Does he have ESP? How can he know whether Trump was deliberately lying or not? Well, part of the evidence that he claims he has in his indictment, which, by the way, very low on facts. Read it second time yesterday. It's full of opinions and false statements. Assumptions, suppositions, guesswork, theories, but very little on hardcore facts. I'm telling you, this indictment should be laughed out of court. It is prosecutorial misconduct, blatant abuse of power. One of the ways he tries to build his case is he says, well, he lied. He must have known he was lying. Now, one of the great things about this indictment, and I really want to praise, Trump has now got a really good lawyer. It's about time. John Lauro. Lauro has now come out. To everyone out there, please stop what you're doing. You need to hear this. John Lauro, the president's lawyer, has now come out and said, we were never able to get a hearing, but now through this indictment, we now have standing. And we are now going to relitigate. We're going to use this trial to introduce all of the evidence that judge after judge after judge, including the Supreme Court, refused to listen to. This is going to blow up in their face big, big time. But the larger point is this. So Trump now has to bow to Bill Barr? To Porterhouse? Trump has to bow to Brad Raffensperger, that Georgia's Secretary of State, that crook? I don't care if they're Republicans. Who cares? They're wrong. In fact, Bill Barr admitted he never even launched an investigation. So he's just shooting his mouth off. That's all Porterhouse Steak is doing. This indictment is already blowing up in front of the Democrats. This may end up badly for Smith. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Trump will be arrested, arraigned later today at a D.C. federal courthouse, and they're going to go after him on making false statements, or he's accused of making false statements, and that apparently he, quote unquote, knowingly lied about the election. No evidence, no proof. Now we're getting into what was in Trump's mind. This is how absurd the entire indictment is. Listen now to Alan Dershowitz saying Jack Smith has now opened up a Pandora's box. He better get Trump, because if he doesn't get Trump, this is naked prosecutorial misconduct, and Smith may end up in jail, not Trump. Roll cut 23, Mike.
Well, it's just not strong enough or specific enough to satisfy the very high standard that's required when a president of the United States allows his Justice Department to indict his opponent. That is such a serious matter that it can't be based on vague conspiratorial notions, proof of intent beyond a reasonable doubt. No, this is a charge that will result in a conviction in the District of Columbia, because just as a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, a petty jury in the District of Columbia will certainly convict somebody named Donald Trump, as long as the evidence is plausible. But it doesn't satisfy the high standard that should be required when you're going after your political opponent. That's Banana Republic, when you go after your political opponent by indicting them.
Oh, you nailed it. We're deep in Banana Republic territory. Let's make no, have no illusions about this. Make no question about it. There's no question about it. We are now very deep in Banana Republic territory. Now, this is not an original point. Dershowitz has made it. Many others have made it. Jack Smith went after Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. Many of you may not remember Governor Bob McDonnell. Well, that was the point. He was a rising star in the Republican Party. He was a key governor in a key swing state, Virginia. He had racked up a very impressive record. People were looking at him as a serious front runner to eventually be president of the United States. Well, Jack Smith went after him on one of these bogus theories, vague conspiracy theories, and in front of a grand jury, a pro-Democrat, anti-Republican jury in Washington, D.C., well, yeah, they convicted him. But when it went to the Supreme Court, it was overturned 9-0. All the conservative justices, all the liberal justices condemned him. They gave him a tongue lashing, saying, you went after a governor for this? On these flimsy grounds? With this ridiculous theory? He was laughed out of court, but no one's heard of Bob McDonnell since. In other words, the damage was done. That's what they want to do with Trump. Well, listen now to Alan Dershowitz, because Dershowitz is now making the obvious point. When they do overturn him at the Supreme Court, Jack Smith is the one who may find himself eventually going behind bars. Because this is how serious, we're not talking about a governor now. Now you're going after a former president, and you're going after the leading presidential candidate. And you're going after him on this garbage? Roll cut 24. Mike.
You know the worst thing about this indictment? Under the terms of this indictment, Jack Smith can be indicted. Let me explain to you why. The statute says the following: if two or more persons conspire to injure and deny somebody the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured him by the Constitution. What if a court ultimately rules that Donald Trump had a right under the First Amendment to make his January 6th speech and to do what he did? Then Jack Smith will have conspired to deny him of that right. That's how serious this is. And Jack Smith also, in his indictment, deliberately, willfully, and maliciously leaves out the words that President Trump spoke on January 6th in his terrible speech, which I disagree with. But what he said was, I want you to assemble peacefully and patriotically. Jack Kemp leaves that out. That is a lie, an omission lie. And if you're going to indict somebody for telling lies, don't tell lies in the indictment.
Bingo. I read the indictment. He never points out that Trump specifically said, peacefully and patriotically go protest. It's nowhere in the indictment. So he's completely right. This indictment is so reckless, so irresponsible, so flimsy, so flawed. Frankly, it's such amateur hour. It's garbage. Smith he's got to be very careful. Look, they've got to take Trump out now. They've got to take him out. Because if they don't, they're all going to go. I'm telling you, every single one of them. They're conspirators, and now it's either politically kill or be killed. 617-266-6868. So, this is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Kelly Financial Services. Is Alan Dershowitz right? Who do you think will ultimately end up going to jail? A, Trump, or B, Jack Smith? Is Dershowitz right? Could Smith be the one that ends up going to jail when the tables are finally turned? So I want to... Yeah, okay, you're right, Sandy. I'm kind of misphrasing it. So the question is, is Alan Dershowitz right? Should Jack Smith be charged and indicted for trying to get Trump? Yes or no? Should Jack Smith now face indictment for trying to get Trump? Is it now time for Jack Smith to be indicted? Yes or no? I want to hear from you. I am a big yes on this. I think Dersh is right. I think Jack Smith should be indicted, and he eventually will go to jail. But that's me. Yes or no? Should Jack Smith be indicted? You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, N as in Nancy, ER. If you prefer, you can vote on our Twitter handle. Our handle there, at the Kuhner Report, KUHNER, all of it one word. Lines are on fire. Paul in Cohasset. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, okay, the subject kind of changed a little bit since this morning, but that's okay.
No, go ahead. Paul, please, make your original point. We're flexible here.
Okay, let's 2 points. One on this one previous, the Biden thing. I always said, when I first heard that Biden's denial of discussing anything with his son's business, I always said, that's because these journalists are asking the wrong question. They should have been asking, did you know about Hunter's business dealings. And even Peter Doocy, all these people, they kept saying, did you discuss? Now, Biden, not that stupid. He could sit there with his arms folded in a corner bar with Bobulinski and just nod. That's not discussing, so he's really not lying. We all know that he's guilty of influence peddling. Everybody knows this. But the problem is, it's the details, it's the smoking gun. But I'll tell you, they just didn't ask the right question. Why don't they ask him this question, Jeff? Why don't they ask him, were you aware that your son worked on that, the Burisma, when you had that prosecutor fired that was investigating? Nobody's asked him that direct question. Now, he's going to have to say, well, yeah, I knew. And see, but that's the problem. As long as they keep asking him if he discussed, that's the key word. I know it sounds like a detail, but and that's the thing.
Well, no, Paul, look, you put your finger right on it. If we had real journalists asking real serious questions, Biden would have been exposed and smoked out a long time ago. But they're there to protect him. They're his Praetorian Guard. They're there to prop him up, cover up for him, and protect him. And that's what they've been doing now for almost 3 years. The problem now is it's over. With Devin Archer's testimony, it's over. It's all over. The only question now is, do the Republicans have the will to impeach Biden and let all these dominoes fall? 617-266-6868 is the number. You can text us 70470, 70470. Okay, today, history in the making. It has all led up to this. For the Democrats, liberals, moonbats, this is the day they've been waiting for. Trump indicted on January 6th. And the cameras will be there, not just that of our media, but across the entire world. It is literally the biggest story of our time. Jack Smith and the Democrats believe they've got Trump right where they want him, but do they? Do they? This is from 781. Jeff, President Trump is accused of making false statements. This is great news. 1, putting aside First Amendment right to free speech. And by the way, this criminalizes speech. This is a chilling indictment. There's no getting around it, but let that go. Trump now gets to show the statistics, videos of the pizza boxes, videos of the boxes and boxes pulled out from under tables, grill hostile witnesses. Democrats, be careful what you wish for. Bingo. As Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, came out and said, you know what? We weren't able to get standing once. But now, through this indictment, through the back door, they have no choice. We are going to relitigate every single issue. And we want cameras in the courtroom. We want the country and the world to see what they were unable to see or hear on January 6th. Remember, Trump was the last person in the world who wanted January 6th to happen. Why? Because everything led up to that moment. So Republican senators like Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Marsha Blackburn were going to discuss individual battleground states. January 6th and the riot that broke out ended all of that. Now, the big problem Smith faces, and he can't get around it. If Trump really wanted January 6th to happen, why did he demand 20,000 National Guard troops? If this was all part of some vast conspiracy to defraud the American people, to defraud people, deprive people of their rights, to obstruct an official government proceeding, okay, why did he call for 10 to 20,000 National Guard troops 3 days before January 6th? In other words, massive security that would have prevented any riot, any breach from taking place. He can't get around that. Now he's trying to play mind games. Now he's trying to go on about what was Trump's real intent. We are deep into Banana Republic territory now. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that if any other country wanted to take out their leading political opponent, we would be imposing sanctions on that country. This is pure gangsterism. It is pure thuggery. It is pure dictatorship. Do you people hear yourselves? Do you see yourselves? And we're the extremists? I don't care where you stand on the political spectrum. I really don't care. Conservative, liberal, moderate, Republican, Democrat, independent, Alan Dershowitz, Jonathan Turley, I can run down the whole list. Legal expert after legal expert after legal expert. This is one of the most dangerous, frightening, anti-democratic indictments in the history of the Western world. That's how pathetic and desperate they are to get Trump in jail. And that's why we must oppose this with everything that we have. Everything. And so, as Trump is arraigned and arrested today, and these idiot liberals pop their champagne corks, these traitors, these rabid scumbags, these authoritarian thugs, because that's what they are, full of hate and bloodlust. We're going to hang them. We're going to hang them. You sickos. I want to ask you, does Trump deserve the death penalty? Does Trump deserve 561 years behind bars? What is at stake here is much bigger than Trump. That's why he now has my complete support. The way Lech Walesa did in Poland, the way other anti-communist dissidents have throughout history, or frankly anti-fascist dissidents. What is at stake now is our very democracy, our very republic, our very rule of law, literally our very constitutional system. Because if they can lock up Trump, and believe me, they're itching, not just to lock him up, they want him dead. They want to inject a needle in his arm. They want the death penalty. Then they come after you, and they come after me. And so as Trump, as he will be arraigned and arrested today, my question to you, and I want to take all of your calls, should he go to jail for 500 years? And does he deserve death? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a lot of moonbats are erupting. A lot of it is vile. It's hate-filled. I mean, they're liberals. That's what they do. Let me just quickly, I'm going to try to just quickly address one. I'm going to leave out the swear words. This is from 508. Jeff, let me clean this up here. You're a liar. The Georgia accusations that have been debunked. That is not true. Look at the indictment. Again, go to the indictment. Jack Smith, the evidence that Jack Smith uses to claim it had been debunked was one tweet. One tweet. It's in the indictment by Raffensperger. A tweet is not a debunking. Show the video. Nothing was debunked. It's like when these moonbats say, oh, Juanita Broderick, her accusations that Clinton raped her, that was debunked. Yeah, by who? Who debunked it? Who? Now, they're trying to play the same game here. Oh, Georgia, no, that was debunked. No, it wasn't. One tweet in the indictment. That's all he's got. A tweet is not a debunking. Play the video. It's okay. Play the video. Play the video. Let everybody see. It's on tape. Play the video, which comes to the ultimate point. And this is going to be his biggest enemy, his biggest foe today. The judge. The DOJ made sure Jack Smith and his corrupt minions, again, these authoritarian thugs, communist thugs. This is a kangaroo court. Make no mistake about it. These are kangaroo court charges. This case is being presided by Judge Chutkan. Chutkan. She's an Obama loyalist. She is an Obama appointee. She's a radical left-wing activist who has sentenced January 6 defendants to more time than was even asked by the government. Why did they give it to her? She won't allow the Georgia tape to be allowed. She won't allow it to be in evidence. She's going to try to drag Jack Smith across the finish line by preventing Trump's team from presenting evidence that completely exonerates him. In other words, get a hardcore liberal Obama moonbat judge. That's what poor Trump is up against today. Frank in Bedford. Thanks for holding, Frank, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm working right now. I want to give a shout out to my wife, Annie. Please hang in there. Okay, the Democratic Party is scared. The Republican Party is scared. The president is scared. Everybody is scared. Why? They saw Detesta Souza's movie. They saw the Sounds of Freedom movie. They listened to this channel. They have heard Kahuna Country's people, everybody, talk about Biden having classified documents, okay, that he wasn't supposed to. That is 1,000% evidence. If we took one day on Kahuna Country and talked about all the evidence that we have in all the movies, their lawyers have no way out of it, okay? Plus our military hears it, Trump hears it. Kahuna Country has now the strength because Jeff and his family and everybody in there has risked their lives to open up our power.
Well, Frank, thank you. I really, really appreciate this. Look, I got to tell you, something has changed in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Let me be very candid with all of you. I always get a lot of hate mail. That's what liberals do. But the level of vitriol, the intensity, frankly, the death threats, not just that, they want to take me to the FCC. They want to take me off the air. They threaten my wife. They threaten my kids. The level, I've never seen it like this. And it all started, frankly, with the first indictment of Trump on the classified documents. So I think a signal has been sent. You don't just take out Trump. You've got to take out all the powerful voices that speak on behalf of the truth. In other words, the leaders of MAGA must be crushed. Bullied, intimidated, silenced, whatever. And so, but I'm going to continue to speak the truth. That's what God, to me, that's why I believe God put me on the earth and why I'm behind this microphone. And as long as we have freedom in this country, I will be here. Thanked by the grace of God because of your support, this incredible audience. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. I only got about a minute, then I got a break. I'm going to come back. I want to take all of your calls. I want to ask all of you really 2 questions. The president is going to be formally arrested and arraigned today. Today. Will he beat the indictment? Will the truth and justice prevail? Or do you think that they will tattoo him, paint convicted felon on his forehead to try to stop him from winning the election? 617-266-6868 is the number. Jeff Kuhner, the voice of the resistance. Will Trump be convicted? Do you fear that today Trump cannot get a fair trial? Let's go to Arthur in New York. Thanks for holding, Arthur, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. An idea I had last month is we need to consider peaceful strikes. Truckers don't deliver goods. States refuse to cooperate with the FBI or provide police protection for national Democrat politicians. Congress doesn't fund the FBI and the Department of Justice. And the military recruitment should go to zero. Although I don't think these should go on strike, but the recruitment should go to zero. It's already low. I think those are peaceful things where basically you do nothing, so they can't say you're violent. So what do you think?
Look, Arthur, I like the idea a lot. I think we need to do a lot more now, peacefully, always peacefully, civilly, a massive peaceful civil disobedience. To me, though, I'll be honest, of course we have to do whatever we can. And, calls like you, people who speak the truth, who aren't afraid. But I'm sorry, we elect representatives for exactly moments of crisis like this. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but where are the Republicans? I mean, just think about what we're watching today. Like, look how numbed we've all become. The former president of the United States, the leading presidential candidate, not just of the Republicans, he's leading Biden in many national polls. In others, it's literally neck to neck. It's neck and neck. Is going to be in handcuffs. He is going to be arrested, formally indicted, and arraigned today. Where is the response? And, again, it doesn't violence. We're not liberals. We're not Black Lives Matter. We don't rampage. We don't loot. We don't pillage. We don't riot. You defund Jack Smith's office. That's it. This is clear prosecutorial misconduct, abuse of power. We defund him, completely defund him, and you impeach Joe Biden, and you impeach Merrick Garland, and you say, I'm sorry, but these are high crimes and misdemeanors. In the United States of America, we don't jail our political opponents. Dictatorships do, not democracies. Certainly not a constitutional republic. And, as I said before, every single Republican member of Congress, this to me is disgraceful. They should all walk out of Congress in unison. Every single one of them. Every member of the House, every member of the Senate. And you tell Biden the whole country is going to grind to a halt. That's it. You're going to have pure legislative gridlock. Why? Because you're jailing our candidate for president of the United States. I know he hasn't won the nomination yet, but he's so ahead in the polls. I mean, come on, who are we kidding? So, no, in America, we don't jail and imprison political opponents. Venezuela, Cuba, China, Russia, yes. In America, no. And in other civilized countries. Now, and notice, Arthur, they didn't get him on incitement to riot. Remember, what have they been saying for 3 years? This is their indictment. This is their day today. For 3 years, Arthur, what did they tell us? That he led an insurrection, that he incited a riot. He caused the riot on January 6th. That's what they've been saying. And that he led a quote-unquote seditious conspiracy. Those were the 3 allegations against him. They've been repeating it ad nauseum for 3 years. Okay, here's your indictment. Where's the incitement to riot? None. It's not there. Nowhere in the indictment. There's no conspiracy that he incited the riot, that he was coordinating with the Proud Boys or with the Oath Keepers. Nothing in the indictment. So there's no incitement. Okay, what about seditious conspiracy? No, they're not charging him on that. And there's no insurrection, that he led or encouraged an insurrection. I mean, that's literally, that is left out of the indictment. Well, that changes everything. Come on, I mean, so, no. This is a political persecution. That's what this is. They just want to get him. And more importantly, they don't want him to be the nominee in 2024. Look, big story in the Washington Post. I urge everybody, the Washington Post. broke a story that in June, Barack Obama held a secret meeting with Joe Biden. They met for lunch at the White House, according to the Post, citing sources who were at the lunch. I'm just going by the Washington Post. You know, Pravda and Izvestia. If they can't tell me about the Democrats, then what good are they? According to the Washington Post, Barack Obama specifically told Biden, quote, don't underestimate the political popularity and power of Trump. That Trump has massive appeal and that he will be very difficult to defeat in 2024. So he's warning Biden, your numbers are bad. Trump's numbers are very good. As he put it, he has commanding control over the base of the Republican Party, and he polls well with independents and moderates. So Obama is warning them. And from that discussion, now the Post didn't talk about this, but right after that discussion, couple of weeks, bang, they indict him. In other words, we got to knock him off. We got to knock him off. So Obama is telling Biden, don't underestimate Trump. He's surging. It's obvious he's surging. So in the indictment, to me, that's what's amazing. It's not what's in it, which is unbelievable, but it's what's not in it. Where's the insurrection? Where's the seditious conspiracy? Where's the incitement to riot? That's all you've been accusing him of. But when it comes down to when the rubber meets the road, where can you prove it? Where's the evidence? Nothing. Nothing. 617-266-6868. That's why the Republicans need in one united front. You are not going to put Trump in jail. If it's insurrection, incitement to violence, seditious conspiracy, those are very serious charges. Those are real serious crimes. But it's defrauding the U.S. people? Yeah, really. Who did he defraud? But just think about who? Who did he defraud? Depriving people of rights? Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding? Okay. What was obstructed? Obstructing and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding. Again, what was obstructed? In other words, whatever you may think of Trump calling up Raffensperger and state officials and all of this, it doesn't matter. He was unsuccessful. So what? Okay, well, there was a riot that took place. Then go after the people engaged in the riot. Can you prove that he instigated the riot? Then charge him for that. Can you prove that he masterminded the riot? Then charge him for that. Can you prove that he coordinated the riot? Then charge him for that. But they're not charging him on that. So it's bullcrap, 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 bullcrap. Now, I'm sorry. No one asks people to do more than me. But this is not us now. What are we paying their salaries for? So I hear you, Arthur. I do. And we should all, speak the truth and defend Trump all the way. But it's now time for, look, we're paying the Republicans for something. No. Shut or grind Congress to a halt, defund Jack Smith, and impeach Obama and Merrick Garland. That's it. Case closed. Well, we don't have the votes. I want to know who's not voting. And then we primary him. That's the litmus test of the swamp. Because the only issue now is this. Are you for the swamp or are you against the swamp? That's the issue. Are you for our Constitution or against it? Are you for the people or against it? Are you for us or against us? Let's go to Ed in the great state of Maryland. Thanks for holding, Ed, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Ed.
I just wanted to sound off about a couple of small pet peeves, not with you. I wanted to speak just in general. Number one, we are in the midst of the coup. We're still living under it. And the real question is, are we going to be able to vote our way out of this? And that's up in the air. I mean, this is very, very dark, what's going on. These are criminals. These are criminals. They are not going to stop. I'm just at a loss.
No, Ed, I look, Ed, you're right. You're completely right. I agree. It was a coup. No question it was a coup. Ed, very quickly, I want to ask you, the indictment today, Trump will be there. They're trying to humiliate him. Mike, do you think, Ed, that he will be found guilty? Not because he actually committed any real crimes, but because the judge is against him, the jury is against him, the Democrats, Jack Smith, they want him, and they want to nail him to a cross. Can Trump win, or will this have to be overturned on appeal?
Overturned. You've been in D.C. I'm not far out of D.C. I know a little bit about D.C. I've been around the bureaucracy, not in it. But, yeah, of course he's going to get found guilty. They've already got the jury picked out. They got the jury picked out. They got a fake judge. It's all done.
It's a kangaroo trial. There's no question. Absolutely. It's a show trial. It's like a Stalin show trial.
Look what they did to Bolsonaro in Brazil. And I'm done. Enough said.
That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. Ed, phenomenal call. Thank you so much. Antoinette in Charlton. Thanks for holding, Antoinette, and welcome.
Oh, good morning, Jeff. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm always very humbled to take part in the conversation around the eloquence of everyone who calls in. We're living in the era of lunacy, which is subjectivity. C.S. Lewis wrote so many articles on the abolition of man. I never thought we would see it to lose complete objectivity, and the people in the power right now would just have no objectivity. So we're not on the road to lunacy, we're in the lunacy, and it's just overwhelming. And, I wanted to bring in, no matter what Trump's lawyers bring up in another case, do you remember there was a 1988 case about mad cow disease against Oprah Winfrey? Do you remember that way back when?
Yes, yes.
And she was vindicated, and she was cited as, having celebrity and political power and gifts, and she should not have said what she said about the beef industry. But she was vindicated on the basis of freedom of speech. Very simple. And here we are, no matter what cases they bring up as a precedent, they will just ignore it because we're in lunacy right now, where there's no objective, there's no clarity. There's just an agenda of hatred and an agenda just to move things into lunacy and move, we're in lunacy, and just move this country into socialism and control the people and muzzle the people. And I don't know, I'm at a loss as well as some of the calls that just called as well. If God bless America means anything, it means everything today.
Amen. Very well said. Very well said. Antoinette, thank you very much for that call. No, look, I've told you, I mean, again, I don't want to repeat myself. I mean, we're going to take you off the air. In other words, they don't answer my arguments as I'm dismantling the indictment and the charges against Trump. They don't say you're wrong here, 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 here. The answer is, we're going to go to the FCC. We're going to take you off the air. We're going to come after you. We're going to come after your wife. We're going to come after your children. That's the hatred that's out there. And I'm telling you, God is my witness. It reminds me of the communist hatred when it came from my grandparents and my parents. Everything they told me. You're right. It's lunacy. It's insanity. It's irrationality. There's a frenzy. There's a fever. And it's a mob. And they want a political, legal, judicial lynching. And again, on one of the counts, he could get the death penalty. I'm going to elaborate on that tomorrow. I think it's unlikely. I mean, I think they're insane, but some of them are actually calling for the death penalty. So, I mean, that's how fanatical and crazy and mad they are. I mean, these people aren't normal. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, who do you want to go to next, Mike? Anthony in Michigan. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Dr. Kuhner, you're a blessing as always. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure, Anthony. Anthony, I don't want to rush you, but we got about 90 seconds. Please, go.
Certainly. So, like you, this feels surreal and numb. However, I had an opportunity to listen to Barris the last few days, and he's sending out the warning signs that this is dangerous times, and what is our solution to get beyond this corruption? Anyhow, one of the things he talked about yesterday with one of his friends, he was on his podcast called Quite Frankly, that apparently he and Robert Barnes were talking to Trump post, the numbers that were all wrong. And one of the things that apparently Trump asked him was Barnes in particular, how do we know? And Barnes says, if they don't let you look at the signatures, So there you go, Jeff. We know what the answer is there.
Robert Barnes is a brilliant lawyer. He's one of the brightest, intelligent, well-read lawyers in the entire country. His stuff is dynamite. So the fact that now he's reaching out to Trump, or Trump has reached out to him, and he's now at least giving Trump legal advice, you have no idea how happy that makes me. This afternoon, Trump will be formally arraigned, arrested. The fallout, I promise, tomorrow. Bye-bye.